Hi there, my name is Josh Spector. I'm one of the founders of Product Manager HQ, and I'm also the head of product and founder of a software company called Squibbler. And in this video, I'll be going through 15 of the most common interview questions recruiters ask when selecting a candidate for a technical product manager position. But first, be sure to hit that subscribe button to get direct notifications whenever we post new and insightful videos just like this one. That way, you'll always be guaranteed to get your fair share of high quality instructional content from real product management experts. Now let's go ahead and jump in. The first thing to know is that hiring a technical product manager is by no stretch of the imagination a walk in the park. It's hard. Recruiters need to nail the right candidate because technical product managers are important roles that can decide the very future of an upcoming or existing product. For that reason, it's common for technical product management interviews to last for as long as an hour or even more. To help you get a sense of how interviews are structured, I've divided the questions you'll be seeing into three categories. We have product management related questions, we have technical PM related questions, and management leadership related questions. If you're a recruiter and watching this video, then the questions will give you a greater sense as to the kinds of topics that you should be addressing with your candidates. If you're someone vying for the position of a technical product manager, then this video will help you to prepare for some of the questions that recruiters may very well ask you. It's important that a hiring manager should start by getting a general sense of how capable the candidate is for the position. And there's no better way to do that than by finding out about the candidate's product management skills. And while it's true that you're looking for a technical product manager, and for that reason most of your questions should be geared towards the technical side of things, a technical product manager is still a product management position, meaning that their responsibilities, tasks, and activities and role within a company are all related to product management. So kicking things off with a few questions on product management is a good way to set the tone for when you begin to dive into more technical questions. Let's go ahead and start with the first question. Can you give me a step-by-step breakdown of your general approach to technical product management? This is the most direct way to get a sense of how a candidate approaches product management. In this case, a technical aspect of it. Why is this question so important? Because the answer provided by the candidate will give you a good idea of what the candidate will do for your company if they're hired. This will in turn give you a chance to make an immediate judgment regarding how knowledgeable the candidate is about technical product management, as well as how sound their approach is. Of course, because the question requires a candidate to dive into their personal framework for technical product management, the responses you'll get will vary. However, the right candidates will begin by making mention of the need to conduct research in order to gather product user data that can subsequently be analyzed and extracted to condition key decisions about the product's design and development. Following this, the best candidates then move into discussing design and development frameworks. First, speaking about whether they would choose a web or a mobile app framework for front-end and back-end, as well as their system design framework of choice based on information, architectural patterns, and best practices. If the candidate doesn't make mention of any of these, then they need to justify their choice. Otherwise, they may not make it to the next question. The next interview question is as follows. What are some of your favorite software tools to manage team members and how do you use them? This is yet another product management related question. This time, however, the aim is to get a feel for the type of tools, applications, and software that the candidate uses when they're on the job as part of their management strategy. In this case, the question specifically asks how candidates manage team members. Yet again, the answers you get will vary as every candidate will have their own preferred set of tools that they use to manage team members, whether that be something like Asana, Monday.com, Trello, maybe even Bamboo HR, Zoho, we have ClickUp, we have Notion, among many others. The key here is for the candidate to first describe what the app is and then break down how they use it to manage their team members, showing the benefits that the app can bring to their management process. Of course, if you'd like to know how the candidate manages something other than Teams, you are free to rephrase the question to your own liking. For example, if you're interested in learning how a prospect manager conducts their workflow, you can ask, what are some of your favorite software tools to manage workflow and how do you use them? Let's go ahead and turn our attention now to the third question in this section. Ask your technical product manager candidates, what are some of the most important inputs they take into account when crafting their product roadmap? With this question, you're still getting a general feel for how well-rounded the candidate is to handle product management. In this case, the answer that candidates will give will provide you with key insight into the things they value, especially the most when it comes to creating product roadmaps. As you know, product roadmaps are tools used to outline the vision, direction, strategy, and requirements of a product over a given period, meaning that it is instrumental in defining the technology that will be used to build a product as well as a general workflow to be undertaken by the development team. Therefore, getting a clear sense of what the candidate values most when piecing together a product roadmap will let you know how good their product management skills are. Most candidates will know that the most important inputs are market-related, strategy-related, and technology-related. The key, however, is to know why these inputs are important. For example, when it comes to market-related inputs, technical product managers need to express how customers, prospects, competitors, and the target market all impact a product roadmap. The same goes for strategy and technology. Candidates must be able to show a clear link that connects inputs that are directly related to product roadmaps and vice versa. Here's a fourth question you should ask technical product manager candidates. What steps do you take to ensure that the technical team is sufficiently aligned with the product vision and overarching goals of the company? While this question relates specifically to how the technical product manager relates to the technical team, we should include it in the PM related questions, since this question is more people management related as opposed to something technical. With that in mind, the question invites candidates to touch on the various strategies and activities they use to unify the entire technical team. It's important to know that fluid communication and frequent follow-ups will be crucial in this phase. Candidates should refer to the importance of conducting as many meetings as necessary with the technical team to sensitize and orient them on the product vision as well as the company's overarching goals. In doing so, candidates should speak to the importance of reducing both passive and active resistance that the technical team may display either before or during the development phase. Candidates should also speak to the possibility of doing ad hoc meetings as needed, be it as a group with the entire team or individually to resolve specific concerns that one or more team members may have. Now that we've looked at our list of product management related questions, it's now time to dive into the more technical questions on this list, starting with a question that any and every recruiter should ask when given the opportunity. This is a two-part question. What major changes would you make to our product to maximize functionality and efficiency? How long would it take to implement these changes? This question is the most direct way to find out what a candidate thinks of your product and how best they believe it can be improved. The key words that candidates need to keep in mind when answering this question are functionality, which has to do with product usability and efficiency, and these have to do with how well the product serves its purpose. With that said, candidates should make product suggestions that are related to functionality and efficiency, branching off into product upgrades that improve customer retention and user engagement. In the case of functionality, while highlighting speed or cost of operation in the case of efficiency. In doing so, candidates should be able to provide a great idea of how long it would take for these changes to be put in place. Let's continue by looking at the second question in the technical PM related segment of this interview. You should ask candidates the following. What are the key challenges you expect the organization to face during the implementation of the product vision, and how best do you think those challenges should be met? Once again, this question is very specific to your organization and product. Here, based on the changes that candidates indicated they would make in the previous question, this question forces prospective technical product managers to anticipate the difficulties they will face when implementing said changes, as well as the solutions that they already have in mind to deal with those challenges. So these challenges can range from anything from how to implement something to deal with GCP, so Google Cloud, or maybe it's Amazon Web Services. So they can very much range. The responses you get here will vary based on the kinds of suggestions made by the candidates to improve your product. However, there are some universal challenges that managers face when implementing new ideas, which is resistance. Product team members, stakeholders, and even organization executives display either active or passive resistance to change. While some organizations hire change managers to deal with resistance, technical product managers must also play their part by putting in place the necessary programs to reduce the likelihood of change. These programs can range from mental health and wellness programs to reduce stress to other strategies such as more open dialogue and group discussions to encourage all stakeholders to embrace change. This is just one example of a common challenge that technical product managers experience when implementing product upgrades or changes. The candidate should list more than one challenge that they will experience as well as a strategy that they have in mind to combat them. Let's go ahead and take a look at question number 7. The engineering team at our company is accustomed to using whatever you want to insert here based on your company, types of methodologies. This could be waterfall, this could be agile, this could be something completely unrelated to those two. What is your personal opinion of these methodologies? Do you have any experience using them? This question is a must-have when doing any technical product manager interview. This is because the question grants you direct insight into the thoughts and feelings that candidates have on the methodologies and approaches used by your company's product team, be it good, bad, or ugly. In doing so, the way the question is phrased makes a clear distinction between the candidate's professional, neutral opinion and their personal preference. This is because, objectively, a candidate may think that the methodology used by your team is sound, but may prefer another one simply because of their personal taste. If this situation arises, this will tell you ahead of time that if the candidate is hired as a technical product manager, they will most likely display resistance, be it passive or active, to the approach used by the team because it doesn't align with their personal preferences. To avoid these kinds of situations from happening, candidates who display positive professional and personal opinions on the methodology used by the product team are the ones you should award the highest points. So since in all likelihood, these are the ones who will readily slip into their role as a technical product manager and be on the same page with the rest of the team. Let's continue with the technical PM related questions of this interview by moving on to question number 8. Are you familiar with the Bayesian methods of data analysis? If so, in what specific cases of predictive analysis are Bayesian methods more suitable than those artificial intelligence techniques? Once again, this is a two-part technical question. In this case, the goal is to test a candidate's knowledge of data analysis techniques and their respective best practices. Data analysis skills are one of a technical product manager's most essential and important skills. Therefore, it's only natural for you as a recruiter to gauge how skilled a candidate is in data analysis, since their capability will either make or break your product. With that said, candidates should begin by providing a definition of what the Bayesian paradigm is by saying something like the following. The Bayesian paradigm is a tool used to provide a coherent approach to specify sophisticated hierarchical models for complex data. Bayesian methods in turn allow one to estimate model parameters and construct model forecasts that can later be used for data model comparisons. Once a definition has been given, the candidate must then describe when Bayesian is better than other techniques such as frequent statistics. Of course, the answer that the candidate gives will be based on the type of techniques that they wish to compare. In the case of Bayesian and frequent statistics, candidates should mention that Bayesian methods are considered to be more sound forms of predictive analysis than frequentist methods. Candidates can then go on and mention the objection against the use of the p-value in frequent hypotheses testing and how Bayesian methods use null and alternative hypotheses, thus making predictive analysis insights much more reliable. Now let's go ahead and turn our attention to the 9th technical PM related question here. Hiring managers and recruiters should ask their candidates the following. In your professional opinion, what are 2 crucial elements that make up a successful user interface, and how do you emphasize them throughout the product roadmap? This question is not as technical as the previous one, but it does continue to test the candidate's knowledge of key areas of technical product management, and in this case, the user interface. The most obvious answer here is to the first part of the question would be simplicity and functionality. Those are the 2 most important facets that make up a successful user interface. Most candidates shouldn't have difficulty here. The challenging bit would be the second part of the question, since here candidates have to discuss the ways in which they ensure that the user interface is simple and functional. Because it's an open-ended question, the responses you get will vary. Your most serious candidates will make explicit mention of key design activities such as providing visual cues that act as reminders for users to easily navigate the interface. These include page titles and highlights, among others. The very best candidates will also speak about how important it is to conduct practical user tests, be it card sorting, tree testing, or others. Be sure to highlight which one of these user tests is best for a given product type. Now let's move on to the final question in the technical PM related segment of this interview. So one of the things that you should ask prospects is to explain what recursion is, as well as how and when it is useful in product development. While the question may seem straightforward, recursion is a difficult concept to break down on the spot. That said, this question happens to be quite popular for technical product managers and software engineers alike at companies like Microsoft and Google. Apart from the fact that recursion is important in product development, there's a lot to be gained from watching candidates navigate a complex task on the spot, such as simplifying what recursion is. This is a solid and formal way to see how your prospects will deal with challenges in real time. With that said, let's look at the answer to the question. The important thing is that they define recursion in more or less the following words: the determination of succession of elements by operating one or more preceding elements based on a rule or formula that involves a given number of steps. Because of the complex nature of recursion as a concept, in all likelihood, candidates will try to explain recursion by comparing it to something else, which should be welcome as it shows the understanding of how difficult it can be for one to grasp an unfamiliar technical concept. Serious candidates should also be able to debate its use in product development. On one hand, they should acknowledge that recursion can be used to solve complex tech problems in product development. And on the other hand, they should know that some programmers and by extension of product teams tend to prefer iteration over recursion because recursion is costly. With the technical questions behind us, let us now move on to the first question, the final segment of the technical product management interview. These questions are related to management and leadership. The first one you should ask your prospect is as follows: can you provide me with an example of a time when you were innovative in product management? This question is important as it will give you direct insight into the catalog of achievements that the candidate has under their belt when it comes to product management. This is the candidate's opportunity to shine and let you know how they are going to step up to the plate when it's necessary. Once again, the nature of this question implies that the responses you get will be varied. However, the key is for the candidate to highlight the problem that they had to face, as well as the steps they took to overcome that problem. If a candidate isn't able to do so, feel free to ask them to speak about an instance where management commercialized one of their product suggestions or projects, as that will give them yet another opportunity to discuss their portfolio of work. Let's move on to the 12th question here. How would you foster an environment and culture for experimentation within the product and technical team? We live in a world where customers expect more from their interactions with digital companies than ever before. For that reason, product teams are turning to experimentation to answer these questions accurately. Experimenting lets us measure the impact of the products we're building quantitatively by testing them before and after release. As a technical product manager, you must help cultivate a work spirit that emphasizes experimentation. Granted, all candidates will have their take on how this should be done. One of the things you should look out for in their response is that they will encourage their team to feel comfortable with failure, empowering them to think and act creatively. In turn, making sure they understand that experimentation is a worthy investment. Let's take a look at the 13th question here. One of the things that's important to ask that sets technical product managers apart and also identifies whether they'll be a significant asset to the company if they're hired is one that gives the candidate free rein to sell themselves as best they possibly can to you, the recruiter. The more convincing they are, the easier it will be to decide who is best for the job. Of course, the responses that you're looking for will depend on the type of technical skills that are best suited for your product. For example, if your product is an app to be used on iOS operating systems, then no doubt having a strong technical skills in Swift or in some cases Objective-C would be a necessity. Similarly, if your product will be developed with another programming language such as Python or Java, then the candidate would need to be well versed in that programming language as well. And now we've reached the 14th interview question in this video. Let's go ahead and take a look. It's important to ask your candidates what tactics or strategies they have in mind to earn credibility from their soon-to-be technical or product team as a new technical product manager. This question may seem trivial, but apart from technical skills, anyone assuming a managerial role in a new company needs to have a plan to forge fruitful and mutually beneficial working relationships with their team members, and a technical product manager is no different here. Their duty to be in touch with their soft management skills if they want to foster a stable working environment. Candidates' responses will vary yet again. However, the key is that they understand how vital it is to build a spirit of camaraderie within the organization, portraying themselves as someone willing to work alongside them while still retaining that respectful image that is expected of a leader. And before we go, we have this one final question. And this final question will help you find out how the prospect hopes to build and motivate their team. As a technical product manager, you will be in charge of a team that will experience highs and lows, successes and failures. That is part of the product development process. It's important to pick yourself and the team back up from a low point and keep at it. You're going to get hit with lots of different roadblocks, lots of different challenges, and you need to stay motivated. Candidates will have their own remedy to build team motivation. However, the best ones will understand that apart from the programs, activities, and initiatives they can put in place to build motivation, what's most important is to encourage their team members to find motivation within themselves and use their own willpower and drive to push themselves forward. The reality is that motivation must come from within, and technical managers need to find a way to encourage their team members to seek motivation from within. Before we end, let me just add that if you're a potential candidate on the receiving end of any of these questions, keep in mind the STAR method or STAR method. Describe the situation, describe your task of the said situation, the action that you took to handle the challenge, and the results of your action. You always want to talk about impact at the end. If you miss that key ingredient, you'll likely not land the job. This way, you would give the recruiter an end-to-end overview of the scenario you are trying to paint a picture of. Everyone can be cool under pressure when prepared during an interview, but the secret is you have to prepare. And that way you'll know the best practices and unwritten rules. However, sometimes when emotions run high, people will crumble, and it just is the way it is. But oftentimes, if you study the right interview questions and answers, recruiters can filter candidates off the bat to ensure excellent work and successful product launches. If you're interested in going deeper with the role and acing your technical product manager interview, then I highly recommend checking out our technical product manager certification on Product Manager HQ. I'll make sure to go ahead and leave a link in the description so you can go ahead and take a look. Before I end this video, I'd like to ask you something to see how well you are paying attention, which is what other technical product management interview questions do you think should have made this list? And if you have some great ideas, make sure to go ahead and put them in the comment section below, and we'll go ahead and interact there. And with that said, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to go ahead and like it, subscribe to our channel, and I'll go ahead and catch you in some of our following videos. And again, my name is Josh, and I wish you the best in your career journey as a PM. Cheers.